You are listening to Draw 4 Podcast. Good tidings, and thanks for joining us. My name is Joshua Kelly. I'm a member of the production team here for Draw 4, and I play Modern.
My name is James Kelly. I'm a member of the production team as well. Play Modern and Casual. As usual, you're stuck with us again. No guest. Let's go.
Time to go into the upkeep. And this week, it's actually a discussion that James and I had earlier today. That is, what is budget magic? Now, to be fair, when I say budget magic, it does involve money, yes, but it also is how much do you want to set aside for building a deck? Whether it's $100, $200,
$5.
$5, yes, even that too. But me personally, I would say free! Shut up. I mean, that's if you do it all in trade, which would be incredible. For me personally, I would say cutoff point for budget magic is about $200. Starting point, $5.
Free to about $150, $250 at max.
Yeah, $250 if you're going super competitive, maybe more. I don't know how this would count. You can help me judge on this, but I'm going to just talk about it. As I stated in the last episode that James and I were a part of, episode 22, we discussed decks and all of that fun stuff, and I had happened to mention about Naya Burn. It's about $800, $900 right now for Naya Zoo, Naya Burn, whichever one you want to play. And I paid $45 for it. I traded some Mox Opals in, and then I was also able to trade in a couple of the fast lands. I believe it was a couple Razorverge Thickets and some Seachrome Coasts and some other cards here and there. But I was able to get about 95, 99, what would you say it was? 98%, maybe?
Considering the math that we did involving this, you bought 5 cards for $45.
It was
$9 about average per card.
Yeah, it was a Wooded Foothills and Wild Nakados, which, oddly enough, I could not find them in any of the 5 stores we drove to over the course of a week to try and find them. So I had to order them off of Amazon.
Yeah, that was a very interesting thing.
I mean, what would you say? Would you consider it budget, considering how little I had to actually put into the deck? Or would you consider it expensive, considering how much is actually in it in terms of value?
I would say, considering your case, you traded into it, so necessarily you made the deck on a budget, but the deck itself is not cheap.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I wanted to see how much I could get out in terms of value from trading in. But point being, $45 for an almost $800 deck. That's value right there.
Getting into the whole budgets thing, there's a deck recently that I just watched a video of, Suicide Black from Saffron Olive over at MTG Goldfish. That thing, holy crap, I watched a few of the matchups with it. The last I watched was it kicking the crap out of Soul Sisters, and man, was that impressive.
That was scary, let me just say.
The opponent had like 66 life, and Saffron was down to like
12.
And then just managed to get to 33 life and knock his opponent down to 8, and they scooped. Even though he still had an Abyssal Persecutor to deal with, he would have had to just killed that and just swung. Decks like that, and that was $56. I want to buy that, but I have my personal limit for myself. I don't want to really spend any more money until I get the decks I'm currently working on up to my standards of being as competitive as they can be. However, I also don't really feel like wanting... It's weird. I think I'm an enigma whenever it comes to buying and playing Magic as far as like decks are concerned. I have Bogles. I have the Zombie Hunt deck that Wedge did over at the Mana Source. That thing is fun as crap. I also made the Countryside Fling deck. I found that deck list from a friend. I don't know where he found it from, but Josh said you found it from Travis Wu?
T-Wizard. That was actually recently, but you have had this deck for a little while, so it was probably up on MTG Salvation for a long while now.
Or tapped out.
But
anyway.
The fact that that deck is $5 goes to show you. I mean, you can get lunch for more expensive than that deck.
I could go to Taco Bell, eat like a king for $5.
There you go.
It's just dependent upon your budget. There's a deck that I made that is far more dirtily. I made a deck based around the card Glaze Fiend, not glazed donuts. I'm thinking food on the mind. I just ate ice cream. Glaze Fiend. He is 1 and a black. He is a artifact creature. He's an illusion. 0/1 flyer with, for as many artifacts you put into play on your turn, onto your side of the battlefield, +2/+2 on Glaze Fiend until end of turn. So I have a crap ton of 0 drops or 1 drops. You know, Ornithopters, Vault Scourges, Springleaf Drums in there. I even have the Hockey Puck Disappointment for crying out loud. I also have blue in there because of the Ghost Scissors. I have Aqueous Form in there to make them unblockable. So that can get disgusting real quick. Josh, I know you've been trying to get me to listen to you for trying to make it an improved deck, but
All I'm saying is get some cranial bladings.
that's not a bad idea.
It isn't, because...
Especially considering I have Thopter Founders.
Oh, hey,
in
I
there.
have 12 artifacts. I'm gonna get 1 billion counters on this guy.
The only problem is my land base is sort of shot for crap because my black-blue lands, and even I don't even really have any of them, but my white-blue lands too, just in case those are going. Those are in other decks at the current time, but black-blue lands, they're in my Infect deck. The white-blue lands, I put them in Bogles. Speaking of Bogles, that's another budget-ish deck, I would say, that fringes around on it.
Well, I mean, to be fair...
Depending upon your personal take on the deck.
Don't run Horizon Canopies. Unless you can afford them or trade for them.
No.
Unless they're able to reprint it, no.
Yeah, no.
Just save yourself the trouble. You'd be better off just getting a lot of fetch lands.
Just go for Temple Gardens, go for Razorverge Thickets. If you need to, go get Windswept Heaths, you'll be fine.
Flooded Strands also, if you're running only the green-white version.
Pauper, for crying out loud. That's budget incarnate right there.
Yeah.
And actually, funny story. I made a white-blue enchantments deck because I said, screw you regular Bogles, I want to see how this goes. And I went and looked everything up. Take some of the cards from regular Bogles, you know, Ethereal Armor, Hyena Umbra, and go to town with them. But there's also a little card called Imperial Armor, who is freaking hysterical. It is 1 of any mana and 2 white, and it is enchanted creature gets +X for each card in hand. And since it's Pauper, I threw in a full set of Thought Vessels, and it's been pretty good when it wants to work. I'm still trying to get consistency issues out of the way, but I think I fixed it with the mana. But it's still pretty good. And plus, with Pauper, it's a history lesson. You can go from any set as long as it's a common. So,
Granted, also the ban list, even though that's few and far between cards, but
that's true.
Still, in your case on that, yeah, I mean, there's that budget. I'm still proud of for $25 with the likes of Nivix Cyclops, Young Pyromancer, Young Peasy as we call him because he's that funny, Delver, as I call him, Jeff Goldblum, and Hypersonic Durgan. $25 for something that actually can hold its own if left alone for the longest time. Granted, consistency issues are a little bit of a problem, but that's what you get for $25. I recently have gotten some fetch lands. I got Polluted Deltas and Bloodstained Mires, but then I just made that into Grixis. But that's another story. It goes to show how little money you actually have to spend to have fun. I mean, with Countryside Fling, for God's sake, $5.
Speaking of Countryside Fling, my very first Modern event that we had played at, I was doing crap on the night. So the very last round, I was faced up against the guy that we had recently met at the local card shop that we go to. And he was like, hey, I know that you have these 2 Dirtle decks. Let's just have a Dirtle match. Call it a tie between the 2 of us just because we didn't play the decks that we originally had played throughout the event. And we had fun. We played 5 rounds within the regulation time of 50 minutes. And we had a bunch of the guys who were playing for first and second and even third and fourth place come around and be like, what are you guys playing? It was just like, we were in the bottom anyway, so it's like, why not? We just decided to play Dirtles. So I matched Zombie Hunt versus Countryside Fling, and we rotated. We switched the decks sometimes just to see how they went. And you know, it was back and forth, and that was some of the funnest matchups I had, was playing those 2 Dirtle decks against each other. To me, that's how Magic is supposed to be. Fun yet competitive, but at the same time, there has to be an understanding between players, especially with something like that.
Yeah, I would agree. It's one of those things where it just depends on how much money you want to set aside for a deck. Whether it's $5, $50, $100, $200, $250, $300. Me personally, like I'd said earlier, I'd say cutoff is about $200. But I've seen some people where they say 300's budget, 400's budget. I mean,
that's pushing it.
Well, I mean, if you have a well-paying job and you have enough money and you already paid off your bills for the month and you still have some money left over, go ahead and have some fun if you want them. But then again, if you already have cards in the collection, that just makes it even cheaper for you.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that we want to say about budget, is whether you're trading for cards, have the cards, or just flat out buy the cards. I mean, budget's budget, just have fun with it. I mean, if you aren't able to afford a lot, there's Pauper. I mean, Wedge from the Mana Source, he's been doing a lot of Pauper videos recently. So is the professor from Tolarian Community College. Saffron Olive's been posting some Pauper stuff too. And they're all well within 5, 10, 15, 20. I think the most expensive before price inflations like we had discussed with Joe, the executive producer of the show, we had discussed the Greentron deck that the professor had made.
That was a while back. I don't know how much or how little the deck has inflated or deflated in value. Probably not much, considering Tron's not as popular.
Anyways, it's just one of those things where the most expensive one I've seen was like $30, which isn't that bad for 60 cards. Well, 75 cards, if you include all the other stuff for the sides. So, it just depends on what you want to do with it.
Like I said, with the green Tron deck that went around, I gotta see how the price is deflated. Because like I said, Tron isn't really as popular as it once was. So it's just dependent upon, it's just one of those things that fluctuates as time goes along. I guess, it's the perfect transition to go into the article of the week.
The article of the week from Manaleak is What Are the Roles of Positive Thinking and Critical Thinking in Magic the Gathering by Graham McIntyre. And this article was actually pretty thought-provoking, considering recently I had been going to some Modern tournaments, and even more recently, this past weekend, with the pre-release from Eldritch Moon, I was in a bit of a pickle over the weekend because I didn't really pull a lot of good things. I was doing good, but I just wasn't able to finish the job. It made me really think about everything because it's like I was being critical of myself. I was like, okay, what plays am I missing? What am I doing wrong? But at the same time, I was also thinking, am I having fun? Does it really matter?
I mean, just generally going off of that thought, there's worse ways we can spend like $25.
Yeah. I mean, that is true, too. It made me really question how I was doing, because I ultimately went 1-3 over the weekend.
Well, I went 1-3 because I got the pity buy.
Yeah, you did get the pity.
Because I lost every match.
Yeah.
And I had pulled green-red, well, I made Jund Werewolves because I pulled Ulrich as my promo. So I was like, okay, let's see how werewolves go. It was slow, though. That was my main problem. And then also, as far as plays are concerned, I missed a few things. Like, on my third match, I had an opponent that was running blue-white stuff, and he kept tapping down my big bad werewolf because it was like a 5/7 at this point junker because I buffed him. I just kept passing my turn when I could have probably kept swinging. Prior to that, it had been like 2 or 3 turns of me trying to swing at him, tapping my stuff down beforehand, and it really just depends on your pools and then also, prior plays of your opponent, and that just sort of affects how your game state goes.
It's just one of those things where it's kind of true, though, of the whole you have to be critical of yourself, but you also have to stay positive, because if you start to get really, really salty about everything, then you're going to wind up
turning salty McSaltington.
Yeah.
Or, like you had said, loading ready to run skit.
You seem a little salty, and he's just like, fuck you!
And starts pouring salt over his head.
Yeah! Cue the gift set.
Time to put that in for YouTube. This is sort of the play off from the previous article of the week that we had done, which was depression, anxiety, self-doubt.
In this case, mostly the self-doubt part.
Yeah, and then this just sort of goes and relays a different kind of message about it. So it's like the adverse of it. You still have to keep both in mind. One is more on the negative side of things, but this is supposed to be keeping it in the critical analysis and positive thinking of things. Because you have to take the good with the bad on everything like that. Damn it, Mom! Our mom's in here, so she just decided to write a note, and it says, and I quote, "It's a fucking game with an exclamation point and a smiley face." Well, that points it towards a different subject matter. At the same time, people do take this thing a little bit more seriously than what we expect.
My brother and I are pretty casual compared to some of the other people we've met over the years.
We've met some people that could get pretty salty pretty quickly, and it don't take much. It's not pretty.
Still, you gotta think, though, about what you're gonna be doing, like what your plays are gonna be, how can you improve everything and all that.
You gotta weigh the casual, fun aspect of it to the competitive, wanting to win aspect
Try
of it.
hard.
Yeah, well, and I wouldn't even say try hard. Those are for the people that set out immediately to say, okay, I want to win no matter f***ing what. That's a try hard in my eyes.
Yeah, me too.
So, like the instance I gave beforehand, it was the end of the night of my very first time playing Modern. 2 Dirtle decks going against each other. I had a fun and enjoyable time. Everyone else was laughing their ass off at the experience as well, but it was fun, and I had an enjoyable time with it. You just gotta make the most of your opportunity and go for it.
I would agree on that. So we want to know what you all think about this, whether it's good to be mostly positive or mostly critical, or do you think that there's an in-between on that?
I think there's an in-between on it. You just gotta be on the critical aspect of, she's writing another note, Josh!
Damn it.
She's writing another note! Mom, there are a bunch of people that actually have jobs that play Magic. How do you think we can afford these cards? Anyway, you gotta weigh the positive aspect of everything with the critical. So you can't take anything too far to the right or to the left of everything, or else you'll just lose the entire meaning of it.
I mean, I still just try and have fun.
Yeah, but then there's the competitive aspect sometimes overrides your wanting to have fun. As far as budget Magic is concerned, you gotta weigh your own financial straits with what you want to buy or make into or trade and stuff like that. So you gotta go with that. And then just keep the critical thinking and the positive aspects about everything. You know, you just gotta watch yourself and watch your attitude. If you feel like you need to take a step back mentally and just be like, okay, I need to chill or I'll be Salty McSaltington. Or if you're happy about everything, then keep being happy. But you also have to keep yourself level-headed and don't get too far in the clouds.
Anyways, this has been an episode with just James and I.
And our mom making a sporadic appearance.
My name is Joshua Kelly. I'm a member of the production team here for Draw 4.
My name's James Kelly, obviously. Hopefully we'll either get a guest next time or it'll just be the two of us losers again and Mom, maybe. Actually, I think...
We need a sign or something.
Actually, no, I think we need an episode with Mom or parents in the episode. How about that? The next episode we do Magic and Parents. How about that?
Though I could just see the whole time, it's a f***ing card game! You have been listening to Draw 4 Podcast. Until next time, we wish you good fortune, and may you draw well.